They say a mother's love is unconditional. We give our bodies, our sleep, our money, and our futures just to see our children smile. We build wings for them, even if it means ripping the feathers from our own backs. But what happens when the bird you taught to fly decides that you are too heavy to carry? What happens when the son you starved for looks at you with disgust because you don't fit into his new, expensive life? My name is Martha. I am 65 years old. For 30 years, I scrubbed floors and worked double shifts to raise my son Jason alone. I sold my only asset, my small house, to fund his startup company. I thought I was investing in his future. I thought we were a team. But last month, my son became a millionaire, and his first act as a CEO wasn't to buy me a house. It was to drive me to a crumbling state nursing home and leave me there with a bag of old clothes, because his new wife didn't want an old woman ruining the aesthetic of their mansion. He thought I was just a helpless old lady. He thought I would sit there and die quietly. But he forgot one thing. I didn't just give him the money. I signed a contract, and that contract is about to turn his empire into dust. Part 1. The Sacrifice. To understand the betrayal, you have to understand the beginning. Jason was brilliant. Even as a child, he talked about building technology that would change the world. "Mom," he would say, his eyes shining, "one day, I'll buy you a castle. You'll never have to work again." I believed him. 5 years ago, he came to me with a business plan. TechNova, a revolutionary software. But the banks turned him down. He needed $200,000 for the prototype. I didn't have $200,000. I had a small house that my late husband left me. It was my safety net, my retirement. Jason begged me, "Mom, please. This is it. If I don't get the money, the dream dies. Trust me. You'll live with me. We'll be rich." I looked at his desperate face. I couldn't say no. I sold the house. I moved into a tiny, rented studio apartment. I gave him every penny. My lawyer, an old friend named Mr. Henderson, was worried. "Martha," he warned me, "this is risky. If the business fails, you're homeless. Let me draft a clause, just in case. Let's keep 51% of the voting shares in your name as collateral until he buys you a new house." Jason laughed when he signed it. "Sure, whatever. Mom is the boss. It's just a formality." He didn't read it. He just wanted the check. Part 2. The Rise and the Shift. TechNova exploded. Within 3 years, Jason was on the cover of magazines. He was driving a Porsche. He was dating Camilla, a model who looked at me like I was a cockroach. Jason stopped visiting my studio apartment. He was too busy. When I called, he would sigh. "Mom, I'll send you some cash. Stop worrying." Then, the wedding happened. Camilla didn't want me in the photos. "She looks dusty," I heard her whisper to the photographer. Jason didn't defend me. He just asked me to sit in the back row. After the honeymoon, my lease was up. The landlord was selling the building. I called Jason. "Jay, honey," I said, trying not to cry. "I have nowhere to go. You promised. You said when you made it, I could live with you." There was a long silence. Then Camilla's voice in the background. "No, absolutely not. I am not living with your mother." Jason came back on the line. "Mom, look. Camilla and I need our privacy. Our house it's a modern vibe. You wouldn't be comfortable here." "But Jay," I whispered, "I sold my home for you." I know, he snapped. "I have a solution. I found a place. It's a community for people your age. I'll pick you up tomorrow." Part 3. The Nursing Home. I thought he meant a retirement condo or a nice assisted living facility. He drove me to Shady Pines. It was a state-run facility on the edge of town. It smelled of bleach and boiled cabbage. The walls were peeling. The residents sat in wheelchairs in the hallway, staring at nothing. "Jason?" I asked, gripping my purse. "You can't leave me here." "It's just temporary, Mom," Jason said, avoiding my eyes. He checked his Rolex. "Until I settle some accounts. It's not that bad. You'll make friends." Camilla was waiting in the car, honking the horn. "I have to go, Mom. I have a board meeting on Friday. Big merger." He handed my suitcase to a nurse who looked overworked and tired. "Be good, Mom." He walked away. He didn't look back. My son, the multi-millionaire, left the woman who gave him life in a place where people go to be forgotten. I sat on the narrow bed in my shared room. My roommate was screaming at a hallucination. I cried for 3 days. I realized then that the son I raised was gone. He had been eaten by greed and a woman who had no heart. Part 4. The Awakening. On Thursday, Mr. Henderson came to visit me. He looked around the grim room and shook his head, tears in his eyes. "He did this to you?" Mr. Henderson asked. "After you gave him everything?" "He says he's busy," I whispered. "He has a big board meeting tomorrow." Mr. Henderson pulled a document from his briefcase. "Martha," he said seriously, "do you remember the contract? The one Jason signed 5 years ago?" "The formality?" I asked. "It wasn't a formality." Mr. Henderson smiled, a sharp, shark-like smile. "It was a binding legal agreement. Until Jason buys you a house of equal or greater value to the one you sold, you retain 51% of the controlling Class A shares of TechNova." I blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means," Mr. Henderson said, "that Jason isn't the owner of TechNova. You are. He is just the CEO. And as the majority shareholder, you have the power to override any decision, including his employment." I looked at the peeling paint on the wall. I thought about Camilla honking the horn. I thought about Jason saying she looks dusty. I thought about the 30 years I spent cleaning toilets to buy him textbooks. "Get the car, Mr. Henderson," I said, standing up. "I think I want to attend that board meeting." Part 5. The Boardroom. Friday morning. The TechNova headquarters was a glass skyscraper. I walked into the lobby wearing my best dress. It was old, bought at a thrift store, but it was clean. The receptionist tried to stop me. "Excuse me, ma'am, deliveries are in the back." "I'm not a delivery," I said. "I'm the owner." She laughed. Mr. Henderson flashed his legal credentials, and we walked past her to the elevator. We walked into the conference room on the 40th floor. Jason was standing at the head of the table. Camilla was there too, sitting next to him. She was listed as a creative consultant on a salary of $200K, doing nothing. The board of directors, 10 men in expensive suits, looked up. "Mom?" Jason froze. His face turned pale. Camilla stood up. "Oh my God! What is she doing here? Jason, get her out! She smells like the nursing home." "Security!" Jason yelled. "Remove this woman!" "Sit down, Jason," I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it echoed in the silence. "Mom, you're embarrassing me. Go back to Shady Pines. I'll visit you next month." I said, "Sit down," I commanded. Mr. Henderson placed the contract on the table. He slid copies to every board member. "Gentlemen," Mr. Henderson said, "as you can see in Exhibit A, Mr. Jason Vance is in breach of contract with his primary investor, Mrs. Martha Vance. Therefore, the clause invoking her 51% controlling interest is active, effective, immediately." The chairman of the board read the paper. His eyes widened. He looked at Jason. "Is this true, Jason? Did you sign this?" I didn't read it," Jason stammered. "It was just a loan. She's my mother. She wouldn't do this." I walked to the head of the table. "I sold my home for you," I said, looking him in the eye. "I slept on a floor for you. And when you succeeded, you threw me away like garbage because I didn't match your wife's furniture. I looked at Camilla. And you. You called me dusty. Well, this dusty old woman owns the chair you're sitting on. I turned to the board. As the majority shareholder, I am calling for a vote. Vote on what? Jason whispered, trembling. A motion to remove the current CEO for gross misconduct and breach of fiduciary duty, I said. And I pointed at Camilla, to fire the creative consultant immediately. I second the motion, the chairman said instantly. He hated Jason anyway. All in favor? Every hand in the room went up. Jason, I said, you're fired. Part 6. The Fall. You can't do this, Jason screamed. I built this company. I am TechNova. No, I said. I built this company when I scrubbed floors for 30 years to feed you. You just wrote the code. Security came in, the same security guards Jason had called to remove me. Please escort Mr. Vance and his wife out of the building, the chairman ordered. Jason looked at me, tears streaming down his face. Mom, please, I'm sorry. I'll buy you the house. I'll buy you a mansion. Just stop. It's too late, son, I said. I don't want a house from you. I want the respect you owed me. Camilla tried to grab her Prada bag, but Mr. Henderson stopped her. Company property, he said. Phone, laptop, and car keys. Leave them. I watched from the window as they were escorted out to the sidewalk. They looked small. They looked ordinary. Jason's Porsche was seized by the company. They had to take a taxi. Epilogue. I didn't keep the company. I'm too old to run a tech giant. I sold my 51% share to a competitor for $50 million. I bought a beautiful cottage by the sea. I have a garden. I have a cook. I donated $10 million to Shady Pines to renovate the facility and hire better staff, so no one else has to suffer there. Jason and Camilla divorced 3 months later when the money ran out. Jason calls me sometimes. He asks for money. I tell him I can't help. I tell him he should try scrubbing floors. It builds character. They say you reap what you sow. My son sowed greed, and he harvested nothing. I sowed love, and when that was rejected, I sowed justice, and the harvest was plentiful. The moral of the story. Never forget the hands that raised you. Success is a test. It doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are. If you trade your parents for prestige, you will lose both. And to all the children who think their parents are useless once they get old, be careful. We might look frail, but we are the ones who taught you how to walk. And we can just as easily pull the rug out from under your feet.